He called me his wife in public, but the moment we were alone, I made sure he understood I was not his to control. The car door shut behind us with a heavy click. Silence filled the space. He stared straight ahead, my pulse still uneven from the reception. I want separate rooms, I said flatly. No hesitation. No softness. Adrian did not answer immediately. He could feel his gaze without turning. Measuring. Calculating. Denied, he said at last. One word. Final. My jaw tightened. He turned to face him. This marriage is a contract. Nothing more. You do not get to control how I live. His expression did not change. I control everything tied to this contract, he replied calmly. That includes you. The words hit like a wall. Anger rose fast, sharp, impossible to contain. I am not one of your acquisitions, I snapped. He leaned slightly closer. Not aggressive. Worse. Certain. You signed, he said quietly. Do not pretend you did not understand the terms. My breath caught. For a second, I hated how steady he was. How ineffective. It made me feel reckless. He turned away and gripped the edge of my seat. Then I will rewrite the terms, I said under my breath. Starting now. The car stopped. His house. No. His impide. The doors opened, and before anyone could move, I stepped out first. He did not wait for him. He walked straight up the marble steps like I belonged there. Like I was not already suffocating. Inside, everything was pristine. Cold. Control. Just like him. A staff member approached carefully. Mrs. Wolfe, your room is not decided yet, I cut in. My voice did not shake. I will choose where I stay. Footsteps sounded behind me. Slow. Deliberate. Adrian. No, he said. He turned. Again. Always forced to face him. His eyes locked onto mine. You will stay where I decide. The room went still. Even the staff stepped back. He took one step toward him, close enough to make it clear I was not backing down. Try and stop me, I said. His gaze dropped briefly to my lips, then returned to my eyes. Cold. Control. Unmover. Do not test me, Scarlett, he said softly. You will not like how it ends. And somehow. He believed him. I thought defying Adrian Wolfe. Would give me control, but it only put me exactly where he wanted me. The next morning, I made my move. He did not wait for permission. He chose a guest suite on the opposite wing. Far from him. Far enough to breathe. Move my things here, I told the staff, my voice steady. They hesitated. Of course they did. Everything in this house answered to him. That will not be necessary, a cold voice cut in behind me. He did not turn right away. He already knew. Adrian stepped into the doorway, calm as ever. Watching. Always watching. I decide where you stay, he said. He crossed my arms. You already decided enough for my life. This is mine. For a second, nothing moved. Then he walked past me and placed a folder on the table. You want control, he said. Read. He flipped it open. My breath caught. Financial reports. My father's company. Losses. Debt. Everything bleeding out. You are drowning, Adrian continued, his tone flat. And I am the only thing keeping your family above water. Anger came fast. Sharp. So this is blackmail? He snapped. It met my eyes. Un second. This is reality. The word hit harder than I expected. He slammed the folder shut. I will not be managed like one of your assets. His gaze dropped slightly, then lifted again, focused and precise. Then stop acting like one, he said quietly. My breath hitched. For a second, I did not have a comeback. He hated that. He hated that he could strip everything down to truth and leave me standing there with nothing but anger. He stepped back, creating space. Fine, I said. Keep your rules. Keep your control. But do not expect me to play along. I moved closer. Not fast. Not threatening. Worse. Certain. You already are, he said under his breath. Then he turned and walked out. Just like that. No argument. No reaction. Like the conversation was over. Like I did not matter enough to fight. He stood there, fists clenched, heart pounding. Because for the first time. He could not tell if he was trying to control me, or protect something I did not even know was at risk. I thought seeing the truth about my family's collapse would prepare me, but nothing prepared me for how deep Adrian Wolfe already owned our downfall. He did not wait. He drove straight to his corporation the next morning. My heels hit the marble floor hard. Fast. Controlled. Like I still belonged there. People stared. Whispered. He ignored all of it. I need access to the financial records, I told the front desk, my voice sharp. The receptionist hesitated. Mrs. Wolfe, those files were transferred. My stomach dropped. Transferred where? I demanded. A pause. Then quietly, to Wolfe Holdings. The words hit like a punch. Of course. Of course he already had everything. He turned without another word. Straight to the boardroom. The doors opened, and froze me in place. Adrian was already there. Sitting at the head of the table. Like he had always belonged. My father sat 2 seats down. Silent. Smaller than I had ever seen him. My chest tightened. What is this? He asked, stepping in. Adrian did not stand. Did not greet me. A transition, he said calmly. Papers slid across the table toward me. He grabbed them. My hands went cold. Acquisition agreement. Signed. Executed. Final. You sold it. He turned to my father, my voice cracking despite myself. I could not meet my eyes. We had no choice, Scarlett, no choice. The same words. Always the same excuse. He looked back at Adrian. You did not just marry me, I said slowly. You took everything. I leaned back slightly, completely composed. Correction, he said. I prevented it from being destroyed. My hands shook. Rage. Helplessness. Something darker. You call this saving us? He snapped. His gaze locked onto mine. Sharp. Unmoved. I call this control, he said. The word landed heavy between us. The room went silent. He swallowed hard, forcing myself not to break. Then tell me one thing, I said, my voice low. If you own my family, my name, and now my life, I stepped closer. Closer enough to feel the pressure of him. What exactly do you need me for? Adrian's eyes darkened just slightly. Aflique. Gone as fast as it came. Then he answered. That, he said quietly, is the part you have not figured out yet. And suddenly, he realized this was never just about business. So what was he really planning to do with me? For the first time since this nightmare began. Adrian Wolfe did not look like my enemy. It looked like the only thing keeping me from falling apart. I do not remember leaving the boardroom. 1 second I was standing there, staring at the papers that erased my family's name. The next, I was outside. The air hit my face hard. Cold. Sharp. Not enough. He kept walking. Fast. Blind. He just needed space. Distance. Anything that was not him. My heel caught on the edge of the pavement. He stumbled. Pain shot through my ankle. He hissed and grabbed the nearest surface to steady myself. Damn it, the word came out low, shaky. He tried to take another step. Foul. My body betrayed me just like everything else that day. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Mature. Familiar. He did not turn. He did not want to see him. I told you not to walk off, Adrian's voice came from behind me. Calm. Controlled. Always controlled. And I told you I am not something you can order around, I shot back, even as my voice tightened from the pain. He stopped beside me. Close. So close. You are injured, he said simply. He let out a bitter laugh. Congratulations. You finally noticed something you did not cause. Silence. Then, without warning, his hand closed around my arm. Firm. Steady. He stiffened instantly. Do not, I snapped, trying to pull away. He did not let go. Not forcefully. Just unmovable. Stop fighting everything, he said quietly. My breath caught. The tone was different. Not sharp. Not cold. Something else. He hated that I noticed. Before I could react again, he crouched slightly and adjusted my stance, his grip shifting to support my weight. Careful. Precise. Like I might actually matter. You will make it worse, he added. My heart did something strange. Unsteady. He clenched my jaw, forcing it down. I do not need your help. He looked up at me then. Straight into my eyes. No hesitation. You already have it, he said. The words landed deeper than they should have. For a second. He did not pull away. And that terrified me more than anything else. The moment I stopped pulling away from Adrian Wolfe, someone else stepped in like they already owned him. He barely had time to process the way his hand steadied me. Before the sound of heels cut sharply across the pavement. Confident. Deliberate. He looked up, and froze. Bland. Perfect. Composed like she belonged in his world without question. Her eyes landed on his hand still on my arm. Then on me. Slow. Mature. Adrian, she said, her voice smooth, controlled. I did not realize you were occupied. Something in her tone made my stomach tighten. Not surprise. Not shock. Ownership. Adrian did not move immediately. His grip did not loosen. Victoria, he said calmly. No words. No explanation. Just her name. He felt it then. They shift. Subtle. Betrayal. He straightened slightly, forcing my weight off him despite the pain. You can let go now, I said quietly. He did. Instantly. Like it meant nothing. Like it always meant nothing. Victoria's lips curved faintly. Not a smile. Something sharper. So this is the solution, she said, her gaze flicking over me again. I expected something more strategic. The words landed exactly where she wanted them to. He felt the sting immediately. It rose in my chest. But I did not look away. And I expected better manners, I replied, my voice steady despite everything. Her eyebrow lifted slightly. Amused. Adrian stepped forward then. Slightly in front of me. Just enough to block the direct line between us. That is enough, he said. Calm. Final. The air shifted again. Victoria's gaze softened, only for him. You could have told me, she said, quieter now. Almost personal. About the marriage. Marriage. The word sounded different coming from her. Like something that should have been hers. Adrian did not answer immediately. His silence stretched just long enough to matter. Then, it was not necessary. My chest tightened. Not necessary. Neither was I. Victoria held his gaze a second longer. Then she smiled. Soft. Controlled. We will talk, she said. Not a question. I promise. As she walked away, I stood there, unmoving. Because for the first time. He was not just trapped in a marriage with my enemy. He was standing between him, and the woman who might actually matter to him. I told myself I did not care about Adrian's past, until I saw exactly how easily he could go back to it. He should. not have followed him. He knew that. But the moment Victoria said we will talk, something twisted in my chest. So I walked. Quiet. Careful. Keeping distance. Just enough to see without being seen. They stopped near the far side of the building. Privati. Hidden. Like this was not their first time choosing shadows. You moved fast, Victoria said, her voice softer now. Different. Intimate. He froze behind the corner, my pulse climbing. Adrian stood across from her. Still. Control. It was necessary, he replied. The same words. Always the same. Necessary. He hated how that word sounded when it came to me, and how different it sounded when it came to her. She stepped closer. No hesitation. No resistance. You could have told me before marrying someone else, she said quietly. Someone else. That was me. Reduced to a placeholder. My fingers curled into my palm. He waited for him to deny it. Though correct her. I did not. It would not have changed anything, Adrian said. Flat. Final. Something inside me dropped. Hard. That was it. That was all I was worth. Victoria let out a small breath, almost a laugh. You always were like this, she said. Cold. Strategic. Untouchable. She reached out and touched his sleeve. Familiar. Natural. My chest tightened. And yet, she added softly, you never pushed me away. Silence. A beat too long. Adrian did not step back. Did not stop her. And that said everything. He turned before I could hear more. Before I could feel more. My ankle throbbed with every step, but I kept moving. Fast. Blind again. Back to the car, back to anything that was not them. Not this. He opened the door harder than I needed to. Sat down. Spat it out. My reflection stared back at me in the glass. Pale. Control. Breaking anyway. He swallowed hard. Of course, I whispered to myself. Of course this was never real. But as the words settled, something else followed. A question I could not shake. If I meant nothing to him, then why did it feel like I was the one who had just lost something I was never supposed to want? I told myself I would not care what Adrian did after that, until someone else made sure I paid the price for it. I had barely stepped out of the car when it started. Eyes. Whispers. Different that time. Sharper. That is her, someone said behind me. The wife. He kept walking. Headache. Control. But then another voice cut through. Louder. I heard she is just a cover. A is still with Victoria. My steps slowed. Just for a second. That was all it took. A group of investors stood near the entrance, watching me like I was a rumor come to life. One man smirked openly. Must be convenient, he said. Marry one, keep the real one. It rushed up my chest. My hands clenched at my sides. He should walk away. He knew that. But I did not. He stopped. Turn it. Fast them. If you have something to say, I said, my voice sharp enough to cut through the air, say it properly. A pause. Then a woman stepped forward. Polished. Confident. Cruel. Fine, she said. Everyone knows Adrian Wolfe does not marry without strategy. So tell me, her eyes dragged over me slowly. What exactly are you useful for? The words hit hard. Public. Deliberate. He felt the humiliation immediately. The same feeling from the wedding. Worse now. Because this time. He knew they might be right. My throat tightened. For a second, I had nothing. No answer. No defense. Just silence. And they saw it. The smirk grew. That is what I thought, enough. The voice cut in cold. Final. The air shifted instantly. Adrian. He stepped beside me, close enough that I felt it again. That presence. That control. His gaze swept over the group. Sharp. Unforgiving. You are done speaking, he said. No raised voice. No emotion. Just command. The man who had smirked earlier straightened immediately. Mr. Wolfe, we did not mean, you meant exactly what you said, Adrian replied. His tone did not change. But something underneath it did. Something dangerous. Then his hand moved. Not gentle. Not hesitant. Firm around my waist, pulling me slightly closer to his side. A statement. A claim. And you will remember, he added quietly, she represents me. My breath caught. The words echoed. Not wife. Not partner. Represents. The group backed off instantly. Apologies. Excuses. Gone within seconds. Silence returned. Heavy. He should have pulled away. He should have said something. But I did not. Because for one moment, standing there beside him, he felt protected. And I hated it. He turned my head slightly, my voice low. Do not pretend this is real. Adrian's gaze shifted to me. Dark. Focused. Unreadable. I never pretend, he said. The same words. Again. But that time, they felt different. And I could not tell if that made things better, or so much worse. Being protected by Adrian Wolfe should have made me feel safer, but instead, it made it impossible to escape him. The moment we stepped away from the crowd, his hand was still on my waist. Firm. Unmoving. Like he had no intention of letting go. He stopped walking, forcing him to stop with me. You can let go now, I said quietly. Control. He did not move. His grip did not loosen. Not here, he replied. My chest tightened. This is exactly what I meant, I snapped, turning to face him fully. You do not get to decide when I am something to you and when I am not. His gaze locked onto mine. Sharp. Focused. This is not about what you are to me, he said. This is about what they see. He let out a bitter breath. So I am just a display piece now. His expression did not change. You are exposed, he corrected. The word hit wrong. Too precise. Too intentional. Ifroned. What does that mean? He did not answer immediately. Instead, his grip finally shifted, pulling me closer, not releasing me. Control proximity. My pulse spiked. It means, he said quietly, you do not walk alone anymore. Something in his tone made my stomach tighten. Not control. Not exactly. Something heavier. I did fine before you, I shot back. He leaned in slightly. Not threatening. Certain. No, he said. You did not. The words landed hard. Before I could respond, a car sped past the entrance too fast. Too close. The rush of air hit us sharply. My balance slipped. His arm tightened instantly, steadying me before I could fall. Silence followed. Seek. Charid. He looked up at him. Really looked that time. His jaw was tight. His eyes darker than before. Not calm anymore. Something else. Something close to anger. This is what I mean, he said under his breath. My heart skipped. What? He asked it. His gaze did not leave mine. You are not safe, he said. The words settled heavy between us. Not a warning. Not a guess. A fact. And for the first time, he realized this was bigger than humiliation, bigger than control, bigger than our marriage. Someone was watching. Someone was waiting. And suddenly, he was not just trapped with Adrian Wolfe. He might be in danger because of him. He said I was not safe, But he still would not tell me who I should be afraid of. The ride back was silent. Heavy. He could feel it sitting between us, unspoken and unresolved. I stared out the window, arms crossed, forcing distance even as he stayed too close. You are going to explain that, I said finally. My voice was steady. Control. Explain what? He replied without looking at me. He turned sharply. Do not do that, I snapped. Do not act like you did not just say I am in danger. I exhaled slowly. Like I was the difficult part of this. You are exposed because of the merger, he said. People lose money. They get desperate. My jaw tightened. That is not what that was. He leaned forward slightly. You knew something. He finally looked at me then. Direct. Cold. Mature. I know enough to take precautions, he said. Not denial. Not truth. Something in between. He hated it more. Precautions? He echoed. Like locking me in your house. His gaze sharpened. Keeping you where I can see you. The words landed harder than they should have. My breath caught for a second before I forced it out. I am not staying with you, I said firmly. You do not get to decide that. The car stopped. His estate. The same cold, controlled space that already felt like a cage. It turned toward me fully then. No distance left. You are not asking for permission, he said quietly. You are ignoring reality. He opened the door before he could say anything else. He needed air. A space. Control over something. He stepped out fast, too fast. My ankle flared again. Pain shot up, sharp and immediate. He hissed under my breath but kept moving. He would not stop. Not in front of him. Not again. Scarlett. His voice came behind me. Closer that time. He did not turn. I said I am fine, I shot back. One more step. Then, everything shifted. A black SUV slowed just beyond the gates. Tinted windows. Engine still running. Washing. My steps faltered. Used slightly. Enough to notice. Adrian's hand closed around my arm instantly. Firm. Protective. Different that time. Incide, he said under his breath. No argument. No control. Just urgency. My pulse spiked. What is that? He whispered. His grip tightened. That, he said quietly, is exactly why you are not walking around alone anymore. The moment Adrian pulled me inside, I realized this was not control anymore, it was fear. Real fear. The doors shut behind us with a heavy thud. Lat. Final. He turned instantly, my pulse racing. Who was that? He demanded. My voice was sharper now. No restraint left. Adrian did not answer right away. It was already moving, speaking quietly to someone on his phone. Get eyes on the vehicle. Now. His tone was different. Harder. Focused. Dangerous. He stepped closer, grabbing his arm before I could stop myself. Adrian, answer me. He looked down at my hand. Then at me. Something shifted in his eyes. Not cold. Not distant. Calculating. Incide, he said again, lower that time. You do not stay near the windows. My stomach dropped. That is not an answer. He ended the call. Silence filled the space between us. Heavy. Tense. Then finally, it is not random, he said. The words hit immediately. My chest tightened. What does that mean? He pressed. It took a step closer. Close enough that I had to tilt my head slightly to meet his eyes. It means someone is watching this house, he said. My breath caught. Watching. Not passing by. Not coincidence. Deliberate. Because of you? He asked. He did not hesitate. Because of us. The correction landed heavier. My mind raced. Fast. Todo fast. You said people get desperate, I continued. Who exactly are we talking about? His jaw tightened slightly. The only crack in that control. People who do not lose quietly, he said. Not a name. Not a face. Just a warning. He exhaled slowly, trying to steady myself. So what now? He asked. For 11. He needed the answer. Adrian's gasped mean. Steady. Certain. Now you stay where I can protect you. The words settled deep. Different that time. Not control. Not ownership. Something else. He should have refused. He should have pushed back. But before I could say anything, his phone buzzed again. I glanced down. Read the message. And for the first time, he saw it. A real reaction. Subtle. Sharp. Dangerous. What is it? He asked. His eyes lifted back to mine. Darker than before. They did not leave, he said quietly. My pulse spiked. What do you mean? His voice dropped even lower. Control. Precise. I mean, he said, they are waiting for you to come back outside. They were not just watching me, they were waiting for me to make a mistake. He felt it then. Clear. Sharp. Real. I stepped back instinctively, putting space between me and the doors like they might open on their own. Why me? He asked, my voice lower now. Not fair. Not yet. Back close. Adrian did not answer immediately. His silence stretched just long enough to matter. Because you are visible, he said finally. And visibility makes you leverage. The word hit wrong. Again. Always strategy. Always control. He shook my head slightly. No, I said. This is bigger than a business deal. You are not telling me something. His gaze held me. Blinking. Calculating. There are things you do not need to know, he replied. My chest tightened. That is not your decision. He took a step closer, closing the distance that time. If I am the one being watched, I decide what I need to know. For a second, something flickered in his expression. Gone too fast to name. Then, you decide nothing about this, he said quietly. The words landed harder than before. Not cold. Final. He clenched my jaw. Anger rising again. Then what am I supposed to do? He demanded. Stay here and pretend I am safe. He moved closer. Matching me step for step. You stay here and you listen, he said. His voice dropped. Lower. Control. You do not leave without me. You do not answer unknown calls. And you do not assume this is temporary. My breath caught. Not temporary. The implication settled in slowly. Heavy. How long? He asked. I did not hesitate. Until I say it is over. Something inside me snapped. You cannot just decide. That, I said, my voice tightening. You do not own my freedom. His eyes darkened slightly. No, he said. But I control your risk. Silence fell between us again. Tense. Unresolved. Then his phone buzzed once more. I checked it. This time, his expression did not change. That was worse. What now? He asked. His gaze lifted to mine. Steady. Certain. Now we confirm who they are. My pulse spiked. And how do you do that? A pause. Just long enough to make it worse. Then he said it. By giving them exactly what they are waiting for. My stomach dropped. And what is that? His eyes locked onto mine. Cold. Decisive. You, walking out that door. He wanted to use me as bait, and the worst part was, I could not tell if I was more afraid of them, or of trusting him. Absolutely not, I said instantly. My voice cut through the room, sharp and final. You do not get to risk me just to prove a point. Adrian did not flinch. Not even slightly. This is not a point, he replied. This is confirmation. He shook my head, stepping back. You just said they are waiting for me. That means they are dangerous. I stepped forward. Closing the distance again. Always closing it. Which is why I will be there, he said. Calm. Certain. Like that solved everything. My chest tightened. That does not make it safe. His gaze locked onto mine. It makes it controlled. The word hit hard. Control. Always control. He let out a sharp breath. You do not control everything, Adrian. For a second, silence. Then, no, he said quietly. But I control enough. That confidence. That certainty. It should have made me feel safer. It did not. It made me feel trapped. He looked toward the doors. Heavy. Sealed. Then back at him. And if something goes wrong? He asked. My voice dropped slightly. Just enough to show the truth underneath. I did not hesitate. It will not. I let out a small, bitter laugh. That is not an answer. I stepped closer. Close enough that I could feel his presence again. That pull I hated. Then here is one, he said, his voice lower now. Nothing gets to you without going through me first. My breath caught. The words settled deep. Protective. Possessive. Both. I hated. That I could not separate them anymore. A beat passed. Too alone. Too quiet. Then I nodded once. Sharp. Fine, I said. You want confirmation? You'll get it. His eyes sharpened slightly. You are agreeing. He met his gaze. Steady. Defiant. I am not hiding in here while someone waits outside for me, I said. If they want me, they can try. Something shifted in his expression. Subtle. Almost unreadable. Stay close to me, he said. Not a request. He turned toward the door. My pulse was steady then. Too steady. Like I had already committed. Do not slow me down, I replied. The lock clicked. The doors opened. Cold air rushed in and for a split second, everything felt too still. Too quiet. He took one step forward. Then another. Adrian was right behind me. Close. Watching everything. Waiting. And just as I reached the edge of the driveway, he saw it. The black SUV. Engine running. Door handle shifting. Someone inside was about to get out. The moment the car door started to open, he realized I had just walked straight into someone else's move. He stopped. Instinct. Every nerve in my body went tight. Adrian's hand came to my back instantly. Firm. Grounding. Do not react, he said under his breath. To late. He was already reacting. The SUV door opened slowly. Not rushed. Not chaotic. Controlled. A man stepped out. Mid-30s. Clean suit. Calm posture. Not what I expected. Not desperate. Not reckless. That made it worse. His eyes landed on me first. Not Adrian. Me. Mrs. Wolfe, he said, voice smooth. Almost polite. My chest tightened. I knew exactly who I was. Adrian stepped slightly in front of me. Subtle. Protective. You are on private property, Adrian said, his tone cold again. Back to control. State your business. The man smiled faintly. Not friendly. Calculated. Just delivering a message, he replied. My pulse spiked. Of course. A message. Always indirect. Always controlled. From who? He asked before I could stop myself. His gaze shifted back to me. Interested now. Like that was exactly what he wanted. Someone who believes you are more valuable than your husband realizes. The words hit hard. Brown. Dangerous. Adrian's hand pressed more firmly against my back. A warning. You are done here, Adrian said sharply. The man did not move. Did not leave. Not yet, he said calmly. Then he reached into his jacket. My breath caught instantly. Adrian moved faster than I expected. His arm came around me, pulling me back half a step. Shielding. Completely. The man stopped. Slowly pulled out an envelope. Not a weapon. Somehow, that made it worse. No need to escalate, he said lightly. I extended it forward. This is for her. Silence. Seek. Heavy. Adrian did not take it. Give it to me, he said. The man shook his head once. It is not for you. My heart pounded. Loud. Unsteady. Every instinct told me not to reach for it. But I did. Slow. Careful. He took the envelope from his hand. Cold. Real. Deliberate. The moment my fingers closed around it, he stepped back. We will be in touch, he said. Then he turned. Got back into the SUV. And just like that, they were gone. The engine faded. The driveway went silent again. But nothing felt the same. Adrian's hand tightened on my arm. Give it to me, he said. Low. Control. He looked down at the envelope. My name written across the front. Plan. Precise. Not rushed. Not random. Personal. My chest tightened. No, I said quietly. His grip stilled. Scarlett, I looked up at him. Steady. For the first time, not backing down. If this is about me, I said, my voice low but clear, then I open it. A beat. Tension stretched. Then I tore it open. And the moment I saw what was inside, everything shifted. The moment I saw what was inside the envelope. He understood this was never just about Adrian. My breath caught. The paper slipped slightly in my hand before I tightened my grip again. A photo. Old. Slightly worn. But clear enough to make my chest tighten. It was me. Younger. Maybe 8 or 9. Standing beside my father, and another man I had not seen in years. My pulse spiked instantly. What is it? Adrian's voice cut in, low and controlled. So close. He did not answer. He could not. Because my eyes had already dropped to the second item. A document. Folded neatly. He opened it with shaking fingers. And froze. My name. Printed at the top. Not Scarlett Hayes. Not Scarlett. Wolfe. Something else. My stomach dropped. Scarlett, Adrian said again, sharper now. I felt his hand move, reaching for the paper. Instinct kicked in, I stepped back. Do not, I said quickly. My voice came out tighter than I wanted. His eyes narrowed slightly. You are not handling this alone. He swallowed hard, forcing myself to stay steady. This is about me, I said. I decide what I see. A beat. Tension stretched. Then, he stopped reaching. Not agreeing. Just allowing it. For now. He looked back down. The document was official. Legal. A birth record. My breath hitched. This is not real, I whispered. But the more I read, the worse it got. The date. The location. The signatures. Everything matched. Everything except one thing. The name of my father. It was not the man who raised me. My hands started to shake. No, I said under my breath. This does not make sense. Adrian stepped closer again. Slower that time. Careful. Show me, he said quietly. I hesitated. Just for a second. Then I turned the paper slightly toward him. His eyes scanned it fast. Precise. Then stopped. Something shifted in his expression. Subtle. Controlled. Betrayal. Where did they get this? He asked. Not doubt. Not denial. Recognition. My chest tightened. You believe this? He asked. I did not answer right away. That silence told me everything. My pulse spiked harder. Adrian, what is this? His gaze lifted to mine. Darker now. Colder. This, he said slowly, is why they are not after your family. A beat. My breath caught. Then he finished. They are after you. They were not after my family, they were after me, and Adrian already knew it before I did. My chest tightened so fast it almost hurt to breathe. No, I said, shaking my head. That does not make sense. He stepped back instinctively, the paper still in my hand like it might burn me. You are wrong. Adrian did not move. Did not argue. That was worse. I am not, he said quietly. My stomach dropped. Then explain it, I snapped, my voice rising despite myself. Explain why someone would come after me when I have nothing left to take. His eyes locked onto mine. Sharp. Unyielding. Because you were never nothing, eh? Said. The words hit harder than anything else. I froze. What does that mean? I demanded. Silence. A beat too long. Then, it means the man you think is your father, might not be the one they are interested in. My pulse spiked. Do not do that, I said quickly. Do not twist this into something it is not. But even as I said it, my grip tightened around the document. Because I had seen it. The name. The difference. The truth I did not want to accept. Adrian stepped closer. Slower that time. Careful. Scarlett, he said, his voice lower now. Not cold. Controlled. Look at the date. He did not want to. He already had. But I did it anyway. My eyes dropped. The numbers blurred for a second before they came back into focus. The timeline. It did not match the story I had been told my entire life. My breath hitched. This is fake, I whispered. It has to be. Adrian did not answer right away. His silence pressed in around me. Heavy. Suffocating. Then, if it was fake, he said, they would not risk exposing themselves to give it to you. The logic landed hard. So hard. My chest tightened again. So what, they just show up and hand me my entire life falling apart? He asked. Why now? His gaze darkened slightly. Because now you are visible, he said. The same word. Again. But now it felt different. Worse. He swallowed hard. Visible to who? I held my gaze. Steady. Certain. To the people who have been looking for you longer than you realize. My pulse spiked again. Cold that time. And you knew? He asked quietly. His jaw heightened slightly. Just enough to confirm it. That was all I needed. He stepped back again. Distance. Space. Anything. You knew something was wrong with me, I said. Not a question. A fact. Adrian did not deny it. I knew there were inconsistencies, he said. I did not know this. My chest tightened. That is not better. Silence fell between us again. It did not move closer that time. It did not reach for me. And somehow, that felt worse. Because now I was standing there alone. With a truth I did not understand, and a target I did not know how to escape. He looked down at the paper again. Then back at him. My voice. Came out quieter that time. But sharper. If they have been looking for me, I paused. My pulse pounding in my ears. Then what exactly do they think I am? Adrian's eyes did not leave mine. Not even for a second. That, he said slowly, is what we need to find out before they do something about it. The worst part was not learning my life might be a lie, it was realizing Adrian wanted answers before I was ready to hear them. He stared at him, the paper still shaking in my hand. No, I said, backing up another step. We are not turning this into one of your investigations. My voice came out sharper than I felt. He was already slipping. He could feel it. Adrian did not move. He watched me too carefully. It already is one, he said. Calm. Control. Infuriating. He laughed once. Bitter. Of course it is. Because everything becomes yours the second it touches your world. His gaze did not change. This touched you before it touched me. The words landed hard. He hated that they were true. He looked back down at the document, then at the photo. My chest tightened all over again. I need to talk to my father. Adrian's jaw set instantly. No, the answer came too fast. Todo final. He lifted my chin. You do not get to decide that. He stepped closer that time. Not soft. Not gentle. Certain. If he lied to you once, he will lie again, he said. And if someone is watching for your next move, going to him is exactly what they want. My pulse jumped. So I am supposed to trust you instead. He shot back. The man who married me like a murderer and kept secrets the entire time. A beat passed. Tight. Heavy. Then Adrian said, no. You do not have to trust me. You just have to stop making yourself easier to reach. That set me up for one awful second. Because it was not comfort. It was strategy. And somehow that made it more believable. He held out his hand. Not to touch me. For the papers. Let me verify the record, he said. Quietly. He looked at his hand. Steady. Open. Waiting. Everything in me resisted. But if he was right, then every wrong move mattered now. Slowly, I handed him the document. Not the photo. That, I kept. His fingers brushed mine for half a second. Warm. Control. Intentional. I will have an answer tonight, he said. He swallowed hard. And if the record is real? His eyes locked onto mine. Todo direct. Todo certain. Then by tomorrow, he said quietly, we are not just dealing with who wants you. A beat. My breath caught. Then he finished. We are dealing with who you were born to. By midnight, I stopped fearing the truth, and started fearing the man who could confirm it. He did not sleep. He stayed in the sitting room with the photo in my hands and the lights low, staring at a younger version of myself beside a stranger who now felt more dangerous than any enemy I could name. Every sound in the house pulled at my nerves. Every minute stretched. When Adrian finally walked in, it was a little after 1 in the morning. No wasted movement. No softness. Just that same controlled stillness that made bad news feel inevitable. He stood before he said a word. Tell me, I said. My voice came out thin, sharper than I wanted. He took off his jacket slowly, like he was buying time. He hated him for that. The record is real, he said at last. 4 words. That was all it took to tilt the room. He felt my fingers tighten around the photo. No, the word left me before I could stop it. You said you would verify it. Not destroy my life with it. His gaze held me. Steady. Unflinching. I did verify it. My chest tightened so hard it hurt. Then say it clearly, I snapped. Who am I? A beat. Heavy. Then he crossed the room and placed a second file on the table between us. Your birth was sealed under a private protection order, he said. Not because you were hidden from the public. Because you were hidden from a family. My pulse spiked. Cold all the way through. What family? he asked. Adrian's jaw tightened. The smallest shift. Bad enough. The Callaways. The name hit nothing in me at first. Then something flickered. A memory. A headline. Old money. Political rich. A dynasty that did not lose control without a fight. I looked at him, my throat dry. You are telling me I was taken from them? I did not answer right. Away. That silence was worse than any confirmation. I am telling you, he said carefully, that your mother disappeared for 3 months before you were registered as Robert Aye's daughter. My breath caught. My entire body went still. My mother is dead. Adrian's voice dropped lower. Then someone buried the truth with her. He stared at him. At the file. At the life I no longer recognized. Why did Hayes do it? He whispered. Adrian did not blink. Maybe to protect you, he said. A bit. Or maybe to keep you. The words settled deep. Brown. Personal. Terrifying. He looked back down at the file, forcing myself to breathe. Then I saw it. A clipped note attached to the inside cover. One line. Tight. Recent. Clean. Asterisco, we know she has the file. My pulse jumped so hard it almost made me dizzy. He lifted my head slowly. Adrian, my voice cracked. Just 11. If this was inside your report, he already knew where I was going. His eyes were on the note. Cold. Focused. Dangerous. Yes, he said quietly. My stomach dropped. Then someone was inside this house. Adrian's words echoed in my mind long after he said them. Someone was inside this house. The weight of that simple statement made everything feel too close. Todo real. I looked at the note again, trying to steady my breath. My hands shook, but I could not stop staring at it. They knew. They had always known. What does this mean? He asked, the words escaping before I could stop them. Adrian did not move right away. His eyes were fixed on the paper, his jaw tight. Finally, he exhaled slowly. It means we have been compromised. My stomach twisted. Compromised. How? He whispered, my voice barely audible. Adrian turned to face me fully. They have had access to everything, he said, his voice low. Every file. Every detail. And they have been waiting. The room seemed to shrink with every word. He felt trapped in it, suffocating under the weight of the truth. But who? He asked, my voice rising slightly, desperate for an answer. He stepped closer to me, his presence as commanding as ever. I do not know, he said, the tension in his voice hardening. But I will find out. My chest tightened. How can you be sure? He was fighting the panic rising in me, pushing it down with every ounce of willpower. Adrian's gaze softened for just a moment, but only for a second. Because they will come after you again. And this time, I will be ready. The finality in his words made my breath catch. I am not just some pawn in your game, Adrian, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. He did not react to the challenge. Instead, his focus never wavered. You never were, he said, his eyes locked on mine, intense and unwavering. The silence between us stretched for what felt like an eternity. And then, with a small, almost imperceptible movement, Adrian reached out and touched my hand. The warmth of his fingers against mine was a stark contrast to the coldness of everything else. My heart beat faster, but it was not from fear anymore. We are in this together now, he said quietly. And I will make sure you are safe. He wanted to pull away. He wanted to push him out of my life and make it all go away. But I did not. Not that time. Because, deep down, I knew we had already crossed a line that could not be undone. The real question now was, how far would I go to survive it? Adrian's promise to keep me safe felt more like a threat with every passing minute. He could feel it in the air around us, too many things left unsaid, too many things we could not control. But I stayed silent, letting him lead us through the plan. The room was too quiet. Todo still. We are moving tonight, Adrian said, breaking the silence. His voice was low, but it carried authority, like it was final. Y nadie. He did not need to ask why. He already knew the answer. We were running out of time. What is the next step? He asked, my voice steadier than I felt. A looked at me for a second longer than necessary. Then his gaze shifted away. We need to get to the safe house, he said, already walking toward the door. Tonight. No delays. The words hung in the air like a heavy weight, pulling me closer to something I was not sure I was ready for. As we reached the car, I noticed his usual calmness had cracked, just slightly. His jaw was tight. His hands were clenched at his sides, even as he opened the door for me. The man who had controlled everything now seemed on edge. He did not ask him why. He did not need to. Whatever was coming, we were in it together now. He slid into the back seat, and as the car sped through the city, I could not shake the feeling that we were already being watched. The shadows seemed to move closer, closing in on us, and I could not tell if it was just paranoia or if Adrian had been right all along. We were not safe. Not yet. He leaned forward slightly. How long until we get there? He asked, trying to push past the tension. Adrian's eyes met mine in the rearview mirror, cold and focused. Soon, he said. We will be out of reach for now. But if they know we are coming, he did not finish the thought. The silence stretched. If they know we are coming, I repeated, feeling the weight of his words, then what? A did not answer. And that terrified me more than anything else. The silence in the car felt suffocating. The tension stretched between Adrian and me, and I could not ignore it any longer. We are being watched, I said, my voice breaking the silence with a tremor I could not hide. Adrian did not look back at me. He just focused on the road ahead, his jaw tight. You knew that already. His voice was cold, controlled, but there was something else there now, something darker. He could feel it in the air. Who are they? He asked. The question had been haunting me for hours, maybe even longer. The answer kept slipping away, just out of reach. Adrian's grip tightened on the wheel, his knuckles white. I do not know, he said, but his eyes flickered to the rearview mirror, then back to the road. But we are not the only ones moving. The weight of his words hit me like a punch to the gut. He did not need to ask what he meant. I could feel it, the eyes on us, the sense of something closing in. We were being hunted, and it was no longer a question of if, but when they would strike. The city lights blurred as we sped through the streets. My thoughts raced. Each one more tangled than the last. He turned to look at him, my breath caught in my throat. Do you have a plan? He asked, trying to keep the panic from my voice. Adrian did not answer at first. His jaw clenched again, and I could see the lines of tension in his shoulders. Finally, he spoke, but it was not what I expected. We just have to make it to the safe house, he said. Once we are there, we will be out of their reach for now. Out of their reach. But for how long? And if we are not? He asked quietly. His eyes flicked to me for the briefest second. Then we fight. The finality in his voice made something cold settle in my chest. We were not running anymore. We were preparing for war. The car veered left, heading toward the dark, empty roads ahead. He was not sure what was waiting for us, but I knew one thing for sure, things were about to get much worse before they got better. And I was not ready for it. But I did not have a choice. Not anymore. The tension inside the safe house was almost suffocating. Adrian had set up a temporary command center in the living room, the only room with a decent view of the street, and the moment we entered, everything changed. He was on edge, eyes scanning the room, his movements sharp and quick. He stood by the door, arms crossed, watching him work. How long do we stay here? He asked, breaking the silence. Adrian did not look up. As long as it takes, he replied. His voice was low. Focused. He could feel the weight of his words. Time was not on our side, and every second there felt like a countdown. He turned away, the walls closing in on me. He could not breathe in that kind of tension. You do not need to be here, Adrian added, his eyes still on the screen. The words made my heart skip, but I did not let it show. I am not leaving, I said, crossing the room toward him. The look in his eyes when he finally glanced up told me he did not expect that answer. You should, he said. It is not safe. He took a step closer. I do not care, I snapped. They. Words felt final, but as soon as I said them, a chill ran through me. We were stuck there together now. There was no turning back. Adrian's phone buzzed on the table, pulling me from my thoughts. I grabbed it quickly, his expression hardening as he read the message. What is it? He asked, stepping closer again. His jaw clenched, but he did not answer right away. Instead, he looked at me, his eyes dark with warning. We have been compromised, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. The world seemed to shift on its axis. What do you mean? I asked, a lump forming in my throat. Adrian's eyes locked onto mine, his face hard, but there was a flicker of something, concern, maybe? Someone has been tracking us, he said. And now they know exactly where we are. My heart pounded in my chest. We were not safe anymore. And suddenly, I realized, this was not just about survival anymore. This was war. The air inside the safe house was thick with the kind of tension that made every breath feel too loud. Adrian was pacing, his phone in his hand, and I could see the storm brewing behind his calm exterior. They know, he said, barely looking up. And they are not waiting anymore. My heart sank. Who are they? He asked, stepping closer, trying to understand the danger that felt like it was closing in from every side. Adrian's jaw clenched, and for the first time, I saw a crack in his controlled mask. People who know exactly what you are worth, he said. His voice was tight. Spran. He did not need him to explain further. He already knew enough. What do we do now? He asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He stopped pacing and turned to face me, his eyes cold and calculating. We fight, he said, the finality in his words making the room feel even smaller. My pulse raced at the thought. Fight? How could we fight an enemy we did not even know? Adrian's eyes darkened as if reading my thoughts. We start by getting answers, he said. And we use what we know. His gaze flickered toward the desk, where the papers lay, evidence that had started the whole mess. My hands tightened into fists at my sides. I do not want to be part of this, I said. My words coming out harsher than I intended. Adrian's gaze softened for just a moment, but it was gone too quickly. You do not have a choice anymore, he replied, his voice low but steady. The weight of his words pressed down on me, and for the first time, I realized how deep it had gone, how deep it had gone. You are not just my wife, Scarlett, he said quietly, almost like he was speaking to himself. You are the key to ending this. His words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. The room felt suffocating. The silence stretched until I spoke again. And what if I do not want to be the key? Adrian did not answer right away. He just looked at me, and the intensity in his eyes made me feel like I was standing on the edge of something I could never take back. Then we lose everything, he said softly. My stomach churned, but I did not look away. Then I will fight. And just like that, the fight had begun. But I could not shake the feeling that the worst was still ahead. Adrian had already set the wheels in motion, but I was not ready for what came next. The air in the safe house was thick with the pressure of waiting. Do you trust me? Adrian's voice broke through my thoughts, steady but heavy with expectation. I turned toward him, meeting his eyes, trying to ignore the knot of unease twisting in my gut. Do I have a choice? He shot back, the sarcasm more bitter than I intended. His gaze did not waver, but the weight of his silence felt like a confession. No, he said simply, his voice unflinching. But that is not why I asked. He crossed the room slowly, moving to the window, but my eyes never left him. You are asking me to trust you after everything? I asked, my voice tight, though I hated the vulnerability creeping in. Adrian did not move, but his eyes darkened. I am asking because I am giving you a choice, he said, his voice low, like each word was carved from stone. You can walk away now. But if you stay in this, together. I looked down, feeling the weight of his words. What was I supposed to say to that? How could I even think about walking away when we were already too far in? He turned back to face him, my heart racing. What is the plan? He asked, my voice quieter now, almost resigned. Adrian walked over, pulling out a tablet from his bag, tapping through a series of maps and security footage. We move soon, he said, his gaze never leaving the screen. They will not wait much longer. And neither will we. A looked up at me then, his eyes filled with a cold resolve. You are part of this now, Scarlett. Whether you are ready or not. He swallowed hard. His words felt like a promise and a threat all at once. The choice was made. There was no going back. Then let us make sure they do not win, I said, my voice firm despite the storm raging inside me. Adrian's lips curled into a slight smile. We will not, he said. But the uncertainty in his eyes told me the real battle was only beginning. We did not have time to prepare. Adrian's eyes were already scanning the streets, his mind clearly calculating the next move. You have made your choice, he said, his voice low, steady. Now we stick to it. He could feel the tension building between us, thick and suffocating. My heart pounded, but I refused to show the fear threatening to break through. I did not ask for any of this, I shot back, my voice tight with frustration. Adrian turned, his eyes meeting mine with an intensity that almost made me falter. None of us do, he said, his tone softer now, but still carrying that undercurrent of control. But you are here, and we have to move. No. I could see the weight of everything pressing on him, the burden of his decisions, the consequences of the past. And I knew he was right. We did not have the luxury of time or doubt anymore. We had made our choices, and now we had to live with them. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. What is the plan? He asked, stepping closer to him. He did not hesitate, his mind already working ahead. We go in fast. We do not take chances. His voice was a command, and I did not question it. There was something about the way he said it that made me trust him, even when I knew he should not. We moved quickly, the silence between us broken only by the sound of our footsteps. He could feel the weight of the world on my shoulders, but I could not back down now. Not when the stakes were that high. As we neared the building, I caught a glimpse of the dark figure in the distance. Someone was watching. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. Adrian, I whispered, my voice trembling. It turned sharply, his expression hardening. Stay close, he ordered, his grip tightening around my wrist. We had no choice but to move forward. But I could not shake the feeling that we were already too late. Whoever was watching us, they knew we were coming. And I was not sure we could outrun them anymore. We had made it inside the building, but the sense of danger was not fading. If anything, it was intensifying. My pulse thudded in my ears as Adrian led the way, his body tense, every step calculated. The air was thick with urgency, but I could not shake the feeling that someone was still watching us. Stay close, Adrian said, his voice low but firm. He nodded without saying a word, but the unease in my chest kept growing. As we turned a corner, the sound of footsteps behind us made my heart skip. Adrian, I whispered, fear slipping into my voice. He did not look back, but I could feel his attention shift. Stay silent, he said quietly. The tension between us stretched tight, and I could feel the weight of the moment. We were both trapped in it, me, because I had no choice, and him, because he was trying to keep me safe, even if I did not fully trust him. The footsteps grew louder. Closer. My breathing quickened. They are following us, I said, my voice barely audible. Adrian's eyes flickered ahead, scanning the surroundings, but his expression did not change. It is too late to back out now, he said. We fight. My chest tightened again, but that time, it was different. He was not scared anymore. He was ready. He had come that far, and I was not about to back down. But the deeper we went into that mess, the more I realized how much I did not know. Who were those people? What did they want from me? Why was Adrian so certain we could not outrun them? As we neared the door, Adrian's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out quickly, his face going cold as he read the message. They know we are here, he said, his voice tight with anger. We need to move faster. Before I could react, the door burst open in front of us. He froze as a figure stepped inside, blocking the exit. Adrian moved forward, positioning himself between me and the stranger. He could feel the heat rising between us, but I was not sure who was more dangerous, the man in front of us or the man beside me. Adrian did not flinch. We are not leaving, he said, his voice unwavering. Not yet. The tension snapped. And I knew, with chilling certainty, that we were about to find out just how far we were willing to go to survive. The door slammed shut behind us, and the figure in front of us was not just an obstacle anymore. It was the key to everything we had been running from. The air in the room was suffocating, heavy with unspoken threats and hidden dangers. Adrian stepped forward, positioning himself between me and the stranger. Who are you? He demanded, my voice steady despite the fear threatening to claw at me. The man did not answer right away. He studied both of us, his eyes flickering between Adrian and me. His smile did not reach his eyes. You do not remember me, he said, his voice smooth, almost mocking. He felt my heart stop for a moment. No. No. That was a game I was not ready to play. I do not know you, I said, forcing the words out. Adrian's hand subtly shifted, moving closer to the gun holstered at his side. It was ready. But I was not. The man stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. It is funny, he said, his tone dark and measured. You have been living your life like it was all yours to control. But you were always meant to be someone else's. The words hit harder than I expected. My mind raced. Someone else's? What are you talking about? He snapped. The man smiled, like he was enjoying it. You do not remember, he said, shaking his head slowly. Of course you do not. They never wanted you to. My stomach twisted as the realization hit me. Who are you? He demanded again. His eyes darkened, and he took another step forward. That is not important, he said quietly, the menace in his voice sending a chill down my spine. What matters is that you are here now. And that changes everything. I felt Adrian's presence beside me, solid and unwavering, but even he could not protect me from the truth slowly unraveling. The man reached into his jacket, pulling out a file. The same kind of file that had haunted me since that nightmare began. You are about to learn the truth about your past, he said, his voice low and dangerous. And it is worse than you think. My heart stopped. The file was the last piece of the puzzle. But I was not sure I was ready to face what it held. And deep down, I knew we were running out of time. Adrian, I whispered, my voice barely audible. What is happening? He did not answer, but the look in his eyes told me all I needed to know. We were both caught in it, whether we were ready or not. And whatever was inside that file would change everything. The worst part? He was not sure we could survive it. The file in the man's hand was more than just a piece of paper, it was the key to everything I had been trying to avoid. The weight of it in the air between us felt like a trap closing in. I stared at it, my heart racing. What is inside? He asked, my voice barely a whisper. The man looked at me with that same cold smile, as if he knew exactly what it would do to me. The truth, he said softly, holding the file just out of reach. Adrian stepped forward, positioning himself between me and the man. Give it to me, he demanded, his tone sharp. The man did not flinch. It is not for you, he said calmly, his eyes fixed on me. It is for her. The tension in the room was unbearable. I could feel Adrian's anger radiating, but his focus remained on the man, his gaze unwavering. My pulse hammered in my chest as the weight of his words sank in. That was my past, my future, everything I thought I knew, being handed over to me in a file I was not sure I was ready to open. Why are you doing this? He asked, my voice trembling. The man's smile widened slightly, his eyes darkening with something I could not quite place. Because you were always meant to be more than you thought, he said, his voice low, almost taunting. And now, you will find out just how deep it goes. He took a slow step forward, reaching for the file despite every instinct telling me not to. Adrian grabbed my wrist, his grip firm but not unkind. Scarlett, do not, he warned, his voice low. He shook my head, pulling my arm free. I have to know, I said, my voice trembling with something I could not control. I need to know the truth. Adrian did not stop me. I could not. He took the file from the man, my hands shaking as I tore it open. As the first piece of paper unfolded, I saw the name at the top. My heart skipped a beat. That was it. That was the moment everything changed. He glanced up at Adrian, but his face was unreadable. What is it? He asked quietly, but the look in his eyes told me he already knew it was not good. The world seemed to tilt, and as the words on the paper blurred before my eyes, one question burned in my mind, was that the truth I had wanted to know? The room was quiet then. So quiet. The chaos had faded into the background, leaving only the weight of everything we had been through. I stood there, holding the file in my hands, the last piece of the puzzle now fully in place. Adrian was standing across from me, his gaze intense, but there was something else in his eyes, something softer than I had ever seen before. The truth had finally come out. The lies, the manipulation, the game we had both been playing, they were all exposed. He could feel the last threads of fear unraveling inside me. So, this is it, I said, my voice steady, though the finality of the words shook me. Adrian nodded, his face unreadable. It is over, he said quietly. There was no triumph in his tone. No relief. Just a quiet acknowledgement of the weight we both carried. He looked down at the file one last time, my hand shaking slightly as I set it on the table. It was time. He had the answers, but they did not bring the closure I thought they would. There were no more questions, no more mysteries left to solve. Only the aftermath. What now? He asked, the question heavy in the air between us. Adrian stepped closer, his eyes locking with mine. We move forward, he said simply. The words were small, but they carried the weight of everything we had been through. We had survived. Together. And that, in itself, felt like a victory. He could see the tension in his shoulders finally relax, the hardness in his eyes beginning to soften. For the first time, I was not afraid of what came next. He did not have to face it alone. Adrian took a step forward, his hand reaching for mine, and for the first time in so long, I felt the warmth of his touch without fear or hesitation. We will rebuild, he said, his voice quiet but firm. From here, we rebuild. He nodded slowly, feeling the final pieces fall into place. That was not the end of the story, but it was the beginning of something new. For the first time, I felt the weight of the past lift, and I realized, this was where I was supposed to be. With him. In this. Together.